Welcome back, Math Party people. Anderson here, your math coach. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and go over another type of systems of equations word problem. There's so many different types that you can see, so many different types. And so I'm going to go and take you through another example and show you those patterns that we've been seeing from those previous guided practice videos up until now. So again, remember, when it comes to systems of equations, always remember this, always. You know you're dealing with a system of equations word problem when you have two things that you don't know, and you also have two relationships about those two things. So for example, in this one here, let's take a look. It says that here, what we're looking for is how much does one pecan cheesecake cost? Okay. How much does one pecan cheesecake cost? So I'll go ahead and say here that we'll say P dollars for pecan. Sounds good. So P represents blank dollars for one pecan cheesecake. So you may be thinking of this and you're saying, hey, Anderson, we only have one thing that we don't know. What are you talking about? How is this a system? Well, let's take a look at the information. Let's break it down so I can show you exactly how this works. So over here, Ted and Mark are selling cheesecakes for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy pecan cheesecakes and apple cheesecakes. So here, P is the cost for one pecan cheesecake. And then we also have A for apple cheesecakes. Do you read this and do you see how much one apple cheesecake costs? No. Nope. We see the number of them. We see the number of them right over there and there. But I don't see the cost of an apple cheesecake. I didn't even know apple cheesecakes existed. So this is crazy to me. But here, I'll just go ahead and say A, and that's the cost for one apple cheesecake. So notice we have two things that we don't know, and look at these two scenarios. Look at these two relationships that we have. Over here, we see that Ted sold 12 pecan cheesecakes, 11 apple cheesecakes for a total of $401. My man can sell cheesecakes. Perfect. And then over here on the second end, we see that Mark sold 7 pecan cheesecakes, 11 apple cheesecakes for a total of $321. So you have two things that you don't know. The cost of a pecan cheesecake and an apple cheesecake. And then you also have two relationships, what Mark sold and what Ted sold. And there you go. You're good to go. You have two things and two relationships. Let's set it up. So over here for Ted, let's set up Ted's equation. Ted says he sold 12 pecan cheesecakes or pecan cheesecakes, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. But we have 12 pecan cheesecakes. And we know that P is how much one of those pecan cheesecakes cost. So think about it. If you know how much they cost and you know how many you sold, what do you do with those numbers to get the money that you generated? You multiply. If you know how much they cost and you know how many you sold, multiply that together and that's going to give you the amount that you earned. So here for Ted, that'll be 12 pecan cheesecakes or 12P. Then when it comes to the apple cheesecakes, we have 11 of those, and A is the cost of each apple cheesecake. So that'll be plus 11A. And then from there, when you add up how much you earned from the pecan cheesecakes and the apple cheesecakes, we see that the total was 401 right there. So that's what we have for Ted. That's the relationship we can form. Now, when it comes to Mark, what do we see there? For Mark, what I see is that he sold 7 pecan cheesecakes, 11 apple cheesecakes, and the total was 321. So 7 pecan cheesecakes would be 7P. 11 apple cheesecakes would be 11A. And that total would be 321. Booyah. Remember, my party people, what we're looking for in this problem is P, the cost for one pecan cheesecake. Make sure that we remember that. That way you don't get confused and solve for one of the other things accidentally and then think that that's the answer. But now that we have it set up, let's get to work. We have 4 total problems in this guided practice video where each of them are talking about different little things, but we're going to be setting them up in, again, the same fashion. So here, that was Ted. This was Mark. What can we do here? Well, my party people, one thing I noticed is that, hey, I have 11A on both of these, actually. I can actually just subtract the equations because, again, this is a positive 11A. That's a positive 11A. I can just subtract these two equations and I'm good. Let's go ahead and get to it here. I'll subtract them. And remember, when you're subtracting, so when you're doing this, Remember that subtracting is just the same thing as adding the opposite. So what I'll do here is I'll write that we're adding the opposite here. So instead of plus, we write minus. Instead of a positive 321, negative 321. Again, subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So we need to be able to do that very quickly and very visually without much trouble. But watch how easy this becomes now. Let's go ahead and get to work. If I add these together, what I see that I have is 12 minus 7, and that is 5p. 11 minus 11, boom, those cancel out. And then 401 minus 321, that becomes 80. So we have 5p equals 80. And so to solve for p, let me actually just move these together. To solve for p, what we'll do is divide both sides by 5. Bam, right there. P equals 80 divided by 5, which will be 16, right there. And so what that means is, right here, $16 is the cost for one pecan cheesecake. And that's it. Booyah, we have our answer. That's B, and we're done. Now remember, we have 3 more problems here to go, so go ahead and watch through the rest of these because I got your back here. Setting these problems up and then solving them, those are the 2 main things. Let's take a look at the next one here. So we have one that looks a little bit bigger, but don't worry. I don't care how big the problem looks. Start with the question. Over here, how much does one package of white chocolate chip cookie dough cost? Start with the question. Remember, it's about first knowing what you want, then establishing what you have, and then making a connection. That's how we handle word problems. So right over there, how much one package of white chocolate chip cookie dough? So right over here, I'll just say W is the cost for one package of white chocolate chip cookie dough. For one white chocolate. All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the information that's given to us. This is how we're going to sort through it. Here we go. Jacob and Totsakan are selling cookie dough for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy packages of white chocolate chip cookie dough and packages of double chocolate cookie dough. Double chocolate cookie dough. Okay. So Jacob sold 6 packages of white chocolate chip cookie dough and 14 packages of double chocolate cookie dough for a total of $246. Totsakan sold 9 packages of white chocolate chip cookie dough and 7 packages of double chocolate cookie dough for a total of $159. So what am I looking at here? I know that one variable that I know I'm looking for is, again, the cost for the white chocolate, but I keep seeing them mention the double chocolate, which I don't know. And that's what I'm going to have to write down. I got to make sure to write that down as well, because that's going to be useful because it's included in both relationships. So I'll just say D is the cost for one double chocolate. And before we continue, my math party people, really quick before we continue, I know that you're enjoying this video and I want to make sure that more people can enjoy these videos just like you. So if you wouldn't mind, just take a quick second, like this video, comment on it, just showing some appreciation, showing what you learned, and then make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that way when we come out with new videos, typically every day, you can be right there on the spot to catch on to them. So help us help others ace the ASVAB. I'm Anderson. Let's keep going here. And I write that right there. So I have W and I have D, but I need to continuously remind myself that I am looking for W. Just keep that in mind. But I have 2 things that I don't know, but remember that you're looking for W. And so let's go ahead and set this up here. We see right here, right over here, Jacob sold, so I'm gonna highlight this in blue. Jacob sold 6 packages of white chocolate chip cookie dough, 14 packages of double chocolate chip cookie dough, total 246. So right here, for Jacob, we have 6 packages of white chocolate chip cookie dough plus 14 packages of double chocolate, and that ended up being 246. Right there. Because again, to get the total amount of money that you made from the white chocolate, you do W times 6 because it's 6 packages, each of them costing W. I don't know what the number is, but they each cost this much. You multiply to get that total, multiply the 14 and the D to get the double chocolate, then add it all together to get 246. And so from here, let's go ahead and take a look at Totsakan here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab green. Totsakan sold 9 packages of white chocolate, 7 packages of double chocolate, total 159. So write that down. So for Totsakan, right over here, 9 packages of white chocolate plus 7 packages of double chocolate is 159. And check out this right here. So now that we've set it up, my party people, remember, we're looking for W. And if I look at this, this is pretty interesting because what I can do is I see that we have 14D and 7D. I can actually turn one into the other. I can use elimination here by modifying one of the equations to get the other variable lined up. So with that said, what I'll do here, my party people, is I'll go ahead and you have options here. You can divide the top one by 2, or you can multiply the bottom one by 2. You can divide the top one by 2 because 14 divided by 2 is 7, and all of these are even. So if you wanted to deal with smaller numbers, you absolutely could. And you know what? I'm actually going to do that because in the previous video I had one of the same options, but I chose to multiply instead. But I'm going to show you how to get this done, again, in the easiest way possible. So I'm going to take this entire equation and I'm going to multiply this entire equation by, I'm going to divide the entire equation by -2. I'm going to divide it by -2. The reason I'm dividing by a negative is so that I can make this a negative and this a positive. That way we can cancel things out. And I'm dividing by 2 because it's going to turn the 14 into a 7, which would line the D's up to cancel out. So with that said, here we go. What I'm going to have once I do that, I'm going to give myself a little more space. 6W divided by -2 is -3W, excuse me there. Then we have 14D divided by -2, so that's -7D. 246 divided by -2 would be -123. So if I take this and I put it right under here, look at what I can do now. Look at how it lines up. I can add these together and I can cancel it out. So bam, line it up. Right here, 9W minus 3W, that's going to be 6W. Over here, the 7D minus 7D, that cancels out. And then we have 159 minus 123. That's going to end up giving me 36. Booyah. So now we have 6W equals 36. Look at that. I can go ahead and divide both sides by 6. And look at how much easier this can be if I divided that top equation instead of multiplying the bottom one and getting huge, way bigger numbers. And so here, W equals 6 after I divide. And remember what W represents is the cost for one white chocolate chip package. So that means that it's $6 per white. Right over here, let me go ahead and fix that. There we go. For one per white chocolate package. Booyah. And so we have our answer. It's $6 per package. That is D, and we're done. And so again, my math party people, look, setting it up is just as important as solving. We need to know how to set it up. So with that said, let's go over another practice problem here. We got this. Here's another one. Let's talk about Emily and Sean. They're talking about selling flower bulbs. Sounds good. So what's the question first though? Find the cost each of one bag of windflower bulbs and one bag of daffodil bulbs. Sounds good. You look at your choices. Windflower, daffodil, sounds great. And if I check out my choices here, notice how none of these answers are the same. So if I find windflower first, I know that I can get the answer right away. If I look at the options for daffodil, I see that these two are the same there. So if I get 7 for daffodil, I know I'm going to have to do extra work because I'm going to have to find the wind bulb. That way, or windflower, excuse me. Because the thing is, if you find 7 for daffodil, you know that you have 2 options with 7 for daffodil. So you're going to have to go ahead and find windflower as well. So let's go ahead and get to work here. So we want to know the cost of each of one bag of windflower. So I'll say W is the cost for windflower. And then we have D for daffodil, the cost for daffodil. All right, so with that said, my math party people, let's go ahead and see what information we're given. Over here, we see that Emily and Deshawn are selling flower bulbs for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy bags of windflower bulbs and bags of daffodil bulbs. Emily sold 4 bags of windflower bulbs and 7 bags of daffodil bulbs for a total of 105. So if we're talking about Emily, well, what we see again, she sold 4 bags of windflower. So again, to get that total cost would be 4 times W, because W is the cost. Then you add that with, so over here. So Emily, 4 bags of windflower bulbs, 7 bags of daffodil bulbs, total of 105. So 4W plus 7D, because 7 daffodil bulbs, equals a total of 105. Then over here, if we look at our friend Deshaun 1 bag of windflower bulbs, 14 bags of daffodil bulbs. So I see over here for Deshaun, we have 1 bag of windflower, so just W, plus 14 bags of daffodils for a total of $161. So now that we have this, my party people, we can go ahead and we can find a way to solve this. We can find a way to solve. So let's think about the best way to solve this. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, hey, I could very well multiply this equation by 2 to get 14. I could multiply this bottom one by 4 to get 4 on the W. I could also, that would pretty much be it. Those are my only 2 options. If I wanted to do substitution, I could do substitution because I can move the 14D to the other side to get W by itself. So I've got options here, right? We've got options, but I think the easiest way is definitely going to be just to multiply this top one by 2. I'm going to go ahead and go that route. So here we go. Let's take this entire top equation. Let's multiply by 2. And remember, the reason that this is okay is because whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So if I multiply the entire equation by 2, that works. So 4W times 2 is 8W. 7D times 2 is 14D. 105 times 2 is 210. We will rewrite the second equation as it was. No problem. So W plus 14D equals 161. And so checking this out over here, what I can do now, my party people, is I can go ahead and subtract these equations. So right over here, I'll subtract the equations. 8W minus W will be 7W. 14D minus 14D cancels out. And then 210 minus 61 is going to be 49. So we have 7W equals 49. To get W by itself, I would divide both sides by 7, giving me W equals 7. And that means $7 per windflower bulb. So for windflower bulbs, where do I see 7? There it is, right over here. And so my answer is C. And I'll go ahead and highlight the whole thing. That's the only question or the only option that has $7 windflower bulbs. So we're good. No other work needed to be done. And we can feel proud that we've done this the right way. Now let's go ahead and go into this last one, my party people. One more example here. I gotcha. Let's talk about James and Deshaun here. And they're talking about wrapping paper here. So look, the question here is this. What is the cost each of 1 roll of plain wrapping paper and 1 roll of holiday wrapping paper? Sounds good. So the cost, 1 roll of plain wrapping paper, 1 roll of holiday wrapping paper. So boom, those are the 2 things we're looking for. So I'll write those down. I see that we have, let's go ahead and say P for plain. So the cost for plain. And then we have over here H, which is the cost for holiday wrapping paper. So let's see what the relationship is. Let's see what equations we can create. I see over here, they're selling wrapping paper for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy rolls of plain wrapping paper or holiday wrapping paper. We have that written down. James sold 1 roll of plain paper and 6 rolls of holiday paper for a total of 40. Let's go ahead and highlight that. James, 1 roll of plain, 6 rolls of holiday, total of 40. Write that out. So James, right over here, 1 roll of plain. So the cost is just P, because it's just one of them. And then from there, we have 6 rolls of holiday wrapping paper, so 6H, because again, the holiday wrapping paper costs H amount, and then you multiply that by 6, because it's 6 rolls. If you add all of that together, you'll get that total of $40. Up next, we look at Deshaun. 1 roll of plain, 2 rolls of holiday, total of 16. So 1 roll of plain, 2 rolls of holiday, and that was 16. And really quick, before we continue, my math party people, I know you're enjoying this, and you can have thousands of problems just like this in our program. In our program, you have 4 main things to help you succeed and more. But mainly, in our course, you're going to get access to recorded lessons, you're going to get access to guided practice just like this, worksheets that you can print out and try or keep them online, and lastly, speed drills to raise your confidence. That way, when you take the test, there's no test anxiety, there's no pressure, because you've been timed before, you know what to do, and that's the feeling that we want. And all of that's included in our program and more. So take a brief moment, click the link here in this video or in the description to learn about the program, and then reach out to us if you have any questions. Sign up now, let's get going, and let's get back to the problem. And so look at that. That's for Deshaun right there. Look at how quick we can set this up once we're used to this idea. Because now what we can do, my party people, is actually very, very straightforward here. We can just subtract the equations and we're good to go. So P minus P, that's actually going to cancel out. That's going to give us a really easy time. That's going to give us a really, really good easy time here. So right there, those cancel out. Then we're going to have ourselves 6h minus 2h, because again, you're subtracting. Don't forget that. You are subtracting right there. So 6h minus 2h is 4h. Be very careful there. And then 40 minus 16, what's that going to be? Well, 40 minus 16 is going to be what? Well, that's going to end up being 30/24. All right, from there, we just have to solve for h here. So we'll divide both sides by 4, giving us h equals 6. So for the holiday, it's $6 per holiday roll. Right there. So do we see $6 for a holiday roll? Yep, I see that right here. Holiday wrapping paper, $6. Then 3, 2, and 7. No other answers have holiday wrapping paper 6. So I don't need to do the extra work. I have A as my final answer, and I'm good. So look, my party people, at the end of the day, really what we need to understand and fixate our attention on is being able to set up the problem. Because we've been learning how to solve all the way through. And if you haven't had the chance to solve systems, well, we need to go back into those previous videos. But what you're going to do up next is you're going to look at any other guided practice videos that we have for word problems for systems, and then try those worksheet problems out, and then from there, do the speed drills. I want to see you succeed, my party people, and so being able to set these problems up as quickly as you can, that's the most important task. And then from there, solving them, that's the best. So with that said, my math party people, I'm Anderson, your math coach. Let's keep it going the right way, keep partying, and let's raise that score. I'll see you soon. And as always, my party people, thanks for watching. You can subscribe with that button right there, and you can also see a link to a video just like this one right up there. But most importantly, if you want the program and you want to raise your score the right way, every step of the way with my support, there's that link at the bottom left. Go ahead, click that link, watch the video on how the program works, subscribe, and raise your score.